Day 975 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzie here, and today is a super quick update with a slightly different format as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on more than 685,000 military personnel losses, including a whopping 1,630 losses in a single day, which is a mere 6% less than the daily record high of 1,740. Then as for hardware losses, 7 tanks, 33 APVs, 34 artillery, 1 air defense system, and 2 multiple rocket launchers. And it does make you wonder about yesterday's showing of the Russian-created makeshift single unguided rocket launcher, where should it be destroyed, what would it be classified as? Likely an artillery system, given the now lack of the multiple component of this in-field creation. But it does genuinely make me wonder if Russia is repurposing its 16 tubes from their available BM-21 MLRS grad systems, or the 40 tubes from their BM-27 MLRS grad systems, as some sort of means to expand their artillery footprint in this war. Even though this type of setup is almost completely useless. Then we'll head into the map today into some Kursk updates, as localized counterattacks by Ukrainian forces appear to have halted the Russian advance at Novovinovka. Now, as an example of the activity, we saw the destruction of a pair of Russian tanks and a whole plethora of soft targets hit by an AFU drone operator crew known as the Destruction Team. They've even got a flaming quadcopter logo and everything. But the biggest news for this region today is arguably how Ukrainian Defense Intelligence has reported that North Korean troops have officially arrived in the combat zone against Ukraine, and approximately numbering 3,000 or about a brigade's worth in Kursk. This was also stated among the 12,000 North Korean soldiers, with 500 officers and including 3 generals. So given these updates, it would now seem that Vladimir Putin is betting big on North Korean troops to retake Kursk from Ukraine. Which is quite incredible to think that, to date, the mighty Russian army has not been able to dislodge Ukrainian forces from their own territory. Clearly there's a few components missing from within the Russian military structures, making for the inability to oust this embarrassment of a Ukrainian incursion. All of those Russians who bought into the superiority myth of the Russian army really must be managing a great deal of cognitive dissonance right now. Meanwhile, the Kremlin seems to have taken note of the international backlash and strong condemnation over integration of North Korean troops as part of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, prompting Putin to adopt a more ambiguous stance on the matter most recently, as when asked yesterday at the BRICS summit by a foreign journalist about satellite images provided by South Korean intelligence showing North Korean soldiers heading into Russia, Putin replied, quote, "Images are a serious thing. If there are images, they reflect something." Stopping short of confirming or denying the claim on that example. So this is an ultra-classic approach from Russia we see here, playing every angle they can. In this case, they don't want the strong international condemnation from the confirming of collaboration with North Korea. But at the same time, they do want all the North Korean soldiers they can get, and then some. So as for these latest North Korean soldier reports, if accurate, we might expect to see infantry wave upon infantry wave of the North Korean troops in the east and or west of Ukraine's incursion salient in the territory, as a means to push out the AFU. So we just have to wait and see, with what will be potentially some astonishing military dynamics unfolding in this region soon. Possibly a lot of the ridiculous too. Then we'll head down on the map today to the Pokrovsk direction, as 24 hours later, no further changes could be noted on the Seladova front, with surprisingly little coming out of this location right now. Though it is likely that Russia would look to stabilize and consolidate their former Rush offensive gains. Then headed north to Toretsk in a similar story, Russia has been doing it a lot tougher than they expected at these positions, with the front lines not moving. However, we did see, and believed to be from this region, a Russian performing some urban combat tactics by throwing a TM-62 anti-tank mine into the window of a high-rise building, but missed his mark, leading to an instant boomerang karmic return of his actions, where it was instead he who had to deal with the consequences of his own actions. Then moving down on the map as a follow-up to my brief mention yesterday on numerous explosions reported in Crimea, with reports now suggesting also that a mobile radar station was damaged or destroyed as a result of the UAV attacks happening at Olenevka. Mobile radar stations like the ones shown here are typically part of Russia's integrated air defense system and are crucial in detecting and tracking aircraft, missiles, and drones in their airspace. Then on the map, and since we're at the Black Sea, I'll mention that the naval logistics of Russia in this sea and the Sea of Azov are essentially dead, according to the Ukrainian Navy. Russian landing ships have been moved to Novorossiysk, while others are stuck in Crimea for repairs, where Ukrainian forces continue to degrade them. As a result, the Russian Navy has largely lost their ability to use the Black Sea Fleet for military operations and logistics. So we're talking a serious level of incapacitation here. And although it is true Ukraine has destroyed only 33% of the entire Russian Black Sea Fleet, which is still somewhat quite impressive a figure, it's the remaining 67% that cannot carry out its duties to project any real means of naval power in the Black Sea, as their operating naval fleet had to travel away to safer waters. But not safe waters, there's a difference. Then taking a quick brief look around on the map today, so starting off somewhere in the east, as a UAV adjusts the fire of the M142 HIMARS platform and destroys a Russian 2S7 Pion self-propelled howitzer with a precise strike. Then also in the east, Ukraine's thermite dropping Dragon drones are continuing to operate against invading forces, with this latest example used on Russian positions in the daytime, which I've got to say doesn't look nearly as impressive as when used at night. Then also in the east, we saw a more unique case of a Russian Zala reconnaissance drone seemingly going into an uncontrolled fall after colliding with a Ukrainian FPV. On closer inspection of this video, you'll find that the Ukrainian FPV clipped the wing, leading to the Russian recon drone's safety mechanism of the chute deployment to occur, leading to it falling to the ground. But what's unclear here is if the Ukrainian drone overshot when incoming, or it intentionally clipped or dropped a new or different munition type, enabling the retaining of this FPV for future sorties. Either way, mission accomplished, but if Ukraine has upgraded to reusable drone interceptors, which they will surely do at some point in the future anyway, then this will free up their operator resources to allow them to become even more effective in this type of recon drone neutralization. Then also in the east, we saw another best-in-class Russian T-90M main battle tank burning somewhere on the front. Then headed into the Russian map today, as ethnic tensions continue brewing in Russia as Chechens fire on a Russian military truck in the town of Petropavlovskaya, not far from Kadyrov's capital of Grozny. So it would appear that these regional spats between Chechnya and Dagestan have now officially escalated. Then headed further northeast in Russia as anarchy has broken out in Chelyabinsk of Russia, as per Russian Telegram channels, as locals are apparently rebelling over their government's failure to protect them. But protect them from what exactly? Well, themselves. Specifically, locals are reportedly upset with the government for failing to protect them from worsening economic and social conditions, as the Kremlin's ongoing forced nationalization of private assets in this region has understandably left residents feeling like their government is taking resources from their region without considering the negative impact on jobs and the local economy. And you know what? My money has always been on directly neighboring Russian Republic of Bashkortostan for seceding from the Russian state, as they've been dealing with similar issues, followed by protests against the Kremlin, who's been stripping the wealth of these outer regions, essentially to fund the Russian economy, which the Kremlin is destroying to fund its war in Ukraine. So, as per this latest update, it now appears that Chelyabinsk is giving their neighbor a run for their money on the secession front. Then headed across to some news for today. So, famous Ukrainian drone unit commander Maydar or Maya lets us in the production facility for his new PTM-3 anti-vehicle mines for dropping by drones on Russian logistical routes, brand new and quality to spec. And I say that because in a somewhat related coincidence on the Russian hardware front today, the Russian side was recently noted to be dropping their own cassettes of small PFM-1 anti-personnel mines. But the nuance of this case was that they were discovered to be all corroded with a failure to disperse and trigger, as Russia has clearly pulled these out from old outdoor Soviet stockpiles, because this type of wear doesn't happen overnight. So you see, the difference in these two updates of Ukrainian and Russian hardware are night and day. One side is producing new pristine equipment, and the other side, through decades of corruption leading into the present day, equips their army with so much defunct weaponry. Then headed across to a little bit of Russian economy news, as Shemezov, head of Russia's Rostec, warns of an impending economic disaster, predicting widespread bankruptcies due to escalating loan rates that consume business profits. With the Russian central bank poised to raise rates to 21% by November, concerns extend beyond industry to housing markets, burdened with a soaring mortgage rate of 25%. Which we recently saw with the Russia's Sberbank. However, some smaller Russian mortgage lenders actually have skyrocket rates already of up to 50%. It's absolute bananas. Russia really needs to heed these warnings. There will be no excuses considered when their entire economy collapses, right at the point where they ask international financial bodies for assistance. Instead, this land-grabbing expansionist nation will ironically need to sell off vast sums of land to keep their country afloat. Oh, the irony. Then headed across to a super quick funny to round it all off for today, guys. So, windscreen washer fluid prices in Russia are expected to almost double by winter, with the quality halving. So the prices jumping from 600 rubles to 1,000 rubles per canister, where people are already complaining about the new formula, saying it's expensive, it freezes, and smells bad. So Russia's antifreeze is freezing. Now, the price increased because Russia banned the use of methanol for production, saying that citizens began to consume the liquid internally. Why am I not surprised? So now, the head of the National Automobile Union said that the organization asked the government to lift the ban to allow for the reinstating of the cheaper and high-quality product. Interestingly, another problem in Russia right now is that companies that produce antifreeze are doing it illegally using methanol and then sell it on the street without any safety provisions in place. Just wow, this is what it's coming to in Russia, illegally producing and selling antifreeze on the street where half of the customer base probably isn't using it on their cars. So that's it for today, guys. Slightly quicker video. It's one of those vids where it's a little bit less in-depth than I'd prefer it to be, but it is what it is. But either way, thanks for watching. Please continue to like and comment. Thanks so much, guys, and I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers!